Alright, welcome back. In this section, we're gonna work on the projectiles and make them look something like this. And I'm also gonna add um, the media queries so that as I as I um, in, as the screen size increase or decrease, the tiles, each tile will move to the same row, or they'll move down. For example, like this right here, it's on two rows. It's on it has two columns now. If the screen size gets smaller, it goes to one column. If it gets larger, it goes to three, and then eventually four. So this is what we're gonna do. So far we are here. We've done all of this, the nav and the welcome section. Now we're gonna touch up the project tile section. So right off the bat, you guys may have noticed I've done some changes. Previously, my this was a div tag, and this div had the class of projectile, and it was inside another div. So what I've done, uh, I removed the div tag and put a tag instead. That way I can make this whole thing a link. So when I click on this, it'll lead me to wherever it's supposed to lead me. So all of this is a link right now along with the text. So this entire box is a link in itself. So I've changed this to an A, and then I add the image inside the A and the H2 inside the A. So both of these are now links, right? And I give this an ID. I put it in a div with the ID of projectile. So if you want, you can make the changes or not. All right. So first things first, we're gonna add a background color to the project section, which is this entire section right here. And I'm just gonna target projects, and I'm going to get this exact color because I'm replicating the exact same thing. So I don't know what color this is. So to find that color, what I usually do is I take a screenshot of the color. Um, just take a portion of that color and I save it to my desktop. And I will go to Microsoft Paint. So Paint. So I'll go to Paint 3D. I open whatever image I want to open. So my image is currently in my desktop. So this one. So now to get the color, what color this is, I take this eyedrop, I put it over the color, I click on the color, and I get the hex code. Or if you want to use RGB, you could get these parameters and put it in your RGB property. But I'm going for hex code. Alright. So I just copy this. I could close this off. Well, okay. And I just say background color, hash, don't forget the hash, and then this. And now I should have the exact same color. Okay. Next, I'm going to style my header. So I'm gonna say project header H1, project H1, and I'm going to give it a color of white. And I want it to be in the center. So text align center. I want to give it a font size of about, I guess, 35. And I want to put an underline. I don't know, just text decoration, underline. And I want to give it some padding at the bottom because it sticks to the tile itself. So I want to give it padding bottom. Of about, let's say, 20 pixels. Okay, that's all right. That's all right. All right. And now I'm going to style the tile itself. So I'm going to style the project tile. So the project tile is what contained all the tiles. So all of these are in one div, basically, right? And of course, this section is the div project, the div with the ID of projects. But the tiles are contained inside the project tiles div right here. So I'm gonna target that. I'm gonna target the project tiles, ID project tiles. And I'm going to give it a display flex. So let's go back to my document. So I'm going to say display flex. And everything is side to side. And I'm going to say flex wrap, so that at a certain screen size, the tiles will go under each other if they have to, just like this. So what I'm talking about is, you see how this is at 2 columns right now, but if the screens get smaller, it goes to 1 column, and if it gets bigger, it goes to 3, then 4 columns. So I'm gonna put flex wrap, and now it goes down depending on the size of the screen, etc. So right now I'm going to target my A tag. Let's see. Yes, I'm going to target my A using the class. So I'm going to say dot project tile. So each tile is a link. So each of these are inside a project tile, the A. So that's why I'm targeting the project tile itself. I'm going to give it a width. So the width is what will decide whether the width is what will decide whether the tile goes down or not. So if I set the width to 30% width, that means each tile will hold a third of the screen, right? So it'll be 3 different tiles on one row, and the rest will go down. So to show you what I mean, let me set the width to 30%. This is what I mean. Because I set the width to 30%, each tile holds a third of the screen, and then the rest goes down, just like this, right? So it's based on the width. So let me open the screen a little, and this is what I'm talking about. So it's based on the width that everything goes down. Or so if I gave it 50%, that means it will be half. So each tile would occupy half of the screen, and the rest will go at the bottom and occupy their half, and the rest goes at the bottom and occupy their half. I hope you guys understand. All right, so okay. So now I'm going to, I want to remove these underlines. I don't think I need these underlines. So I think I'm going to do text decoration and none. There you go. And the reason why this works is because this is the A tag. It's the A tag that's causing the underline in the first place. So if I add a text decoration, it will just remove any underline. Text decoration none, it will remove any underline in the A tag. Any element that is underlined in the A tag. Okay. So now I'm going to target my image because I feel like my image is a little too big. I'm going to target my image to make it slightly smaller. So I'm going to say dot projectile img, and then I'm going to give it a width of 100%. And a height of auto. Okay, this is all for now. Okay, and also I realized that everything is sort of pushed to the left, and there's this big space on the right. So I think to remove that, I'm going to go to my project tiles. This is I'm going to go to my project tiles. This is what contains all the tiles. So all of these, I call them tiles. So each of these with the text is a tile. So all of this is contained inside the project tile. And of course I set the display flex to all of these. That's why it's side to side, and then it wraps after 3 tiles, right? It goes to the bottom. So what I want to do, I want to use another flex property called justify content, and I'm going to say space around. And when I give it space around, it evenly distributes everything so that there's equal space, so that each tile occupy equal space on the screen, right? And if I said flex end, there's another property called flex end, it would have sent everything to the end. So everything would be pushed all the way to the end. For example, this. And there's several other properties. Flex end, everything is pushed to the end. And there's this big gap here. So in the beginning, remember there was a big gap on the right, but now it's on the left. So in the beginning, it seems like the default property of the justify content was flex start. So when we put space around, it gives us even distribution across the screen. So let's say space around, and boom. All right. Let's do this really quickly. Now I want to target this right here. So I think that's my H2. So I'm gonna say dot projectile H2. I'm gonna give it a color of white. I think that's better because black wouldn't make any sense there. Color of white. I give it a padding. I think this deserves some padding. Padding of about 20 pixels. Let's see. That's a little too much. Maybe 10. 10 makes more sense. Okay. And I want to give it a text align to center. Oh, that's nice. And I want to give it a background color because I don't like the fact that it's just there like that. So I'm gonna give it a background color. What is this? I'm seeing this invisible, I guess, this box here. What the heck? What is that? Huh. Oh well, this is not part of the website. It's just in the screen itself. What is this? Oh well. Okay. Okay, I want to give this my H2 a background color. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it can be ignored. Give it a background color of black, but I don't really like black. It's just too plain. So what I want to do, I want to mess with the color a little bit, see what I could come up with. I mean, I guess that's alright. That's fine. It's not as bad, right? I think it's fine. Okay, so I think that's alright. And one more thing I realized is that these are too close to each other, so I want to add a margin bottom to each tile. So I'm gonna give it a margin bottom of like 20 pixels. Oh, that's all right. Okay, that's good. Okay. All right. I think that's fine. Okay. I think I want to change the font size a little. Let me see what I could come up with. Font size 25. It looks like the same thing to. Oh, never mind. Oh, 25. There we go. Okay. Alright, folks. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a hover effect over the H2 tag. So, I'm going to say project tile H2. I'm going to say hover. And I'm going to give it a color. Once I hover over it, I want the color to change. And I want to give it a reddish color. Let's see if this is fine. Oh, okay. Alright, so I give it this color every time I hover over it. Actually, what I realized is that even if, okay, I think I made, what I want to do is once I hover over this, I want this to change color, right? Because this is also part of the link. The image is also part of the link. So I think I should say project tiles, hover, and then there we go. There we go. So what I've done is that once I hover over the link itself, so the link is the entire box. Once I hover over the entire box, I want the H2 to change color. So this is exactly this is how I did that. So I put a hover over the A. Remember, projectile is the A tag. And once I hover over it, I want to change the H2's color. So there you go. All right, now that's better. All right, so as it relates to that, I think that's pretty all right. One thing I realized is that the margin at the top is not so good, because here's the deal. Once I click, remember, these are all linking to different sections of the page, right? So once I click on about, you see how clean this looks, but when I go to work, it kind of leaves the heading to the top. I want the heading to be somewhere here. So to fix that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to go to the project section, and I'm going to give it a padding of 100 pixels all around. That's much better. That is much better. So once I do this, boom. Yep. All right. So to finish off, I just need to add my media queries so that everything can be be responsive and be smooth. So once my screen gets smaller, I want it to eventually go to 2 rows and then 1 row after a certain screen width. So to do that, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add my media query. Let's say add media, and okay. Where did my mouse go though? Okay, so at a certain width. So let's see. Let's test everything out. So one thing I noticed at this width, anything smaller than, you see this change, this is a problem. So what I want to do, I want to reduce the size a little bit. So I want to change the font size, make it smaller so everything could stay in the box and not go to the bottom and mess the flow of things, because now this is bigger than that, and that's just weird. So I just want to decrease the size once the screen size is at, let's just say 1230 or 37, I guess. Yeah, I think that's all right. So at max width of 1237, I want the font size to decrease a bit. And also, I kind of want this padding. This padding is a little too much, so I want to remove some of that padding. So first thing I want to do, I want to say max width 1237 pixels. And I want to go to my project, the project section itself. I want to change the padding to, so the top and bottom will stay at 100 pixels, but the left and right, I want to decrease it a bit. Maybe 20 pixels might be good. So there you go. So anything less than 1237 pixels, the padding changes to 20 pixels. And also, I want to, like I said before, I want to mess with my my H2. So I'm going to target my H2 by saying projectile H2, and I'm going to set the font size to something smaller, about font 20 pixels, I guess. That's fair. Okay. I'm not going to decrease the font size make it any smaller. What I'm going to do though, I want to change I want 2 tiles to be, as it gets smaller, I want it to go from 3 tiles to 2 tiles and then to 1 tile, like this. Right now it's at 3 tiles. As I go smaller, it goes to 2 tiles. So from here it's 3, 2, and then 1. That's what I want. So to do that, all I have to do is very simple. All I have to do, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna go down, and at a certain, I'm gonna add a new media query. So at a certain screen size, so let's just test this out. So at around somewhere here, maybe 890. Yeah, so at 890, I want there to be 2 tiles, and I want this 3 tiles. So I want this tile to go to the bottom, so there will be 2 big tiles at the top, 2 at the bottom, 2 at the bottom again, right? So how I'm gonna do that is simple. All I have to do is set the width of the tile. So the width of the tile would be 50, so that each tile would occupy 50% of the screen, right? So at, let me say media max width 890 pixels. I'm gonna set projectile. I'm gonna set that to give it a width of 45%. The reason I give it 45% is because I want that space, that little space in the middle. I don't want it to be like too close to each other. That's the exact same reason I gave this 30% instead of 33%, because 33 times 3 gives you 99, which is basically 100, right? So if I gave it 33, then everything would be so close to each other and it just wouldn't make any sense. So I gave it 30%, so that 3% is that little space in the middle, right? The same way I gave it 45%, it'll leave a little space in the middle as well. So let's test it out. There you go. There's this big gap in the middle because it's 45%. If it was 50, it would be so close to each other, it just wouldn't make any sense. Alright, so I think this is good enough. Where's my mouse? Okay, there you are. So boom, boom, boom. And lastly, I want it at, I want there to be 1 tile now. So this is 2 tiles, 3 tiles. I want there to be 1 tile at a certain width. Let's see. I think here is fine. Around 620, I want there to be 1 big tile. Okay. So to do that, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna create a media query. And I'm gonna give it a max width of 620. And now, since there's gonna be only one big tile, I want to give it a width of 100% because it's just one tile. So now it's gonna have a width of 100%. Boom! So it occupies 100% of the screen, and this little space is just padding, right? So we go down. Boom! There we go. All right. So as we go back up, 2, 3, and then the padding changes here. There we go. All right, and that's about it for this section. The last section will be adding the styling the links to make them look like this. So see you then.